to Millennium News Hour. I am Tanziba Naurin. In today's bulletin, we will present top and trending news from across the nation and the world. Let's begin with the headlines of the day. Biden warns sharper rules on unknown aerial objects. Michigan State University gunman's note had possible motive. US prosecutors ask for 25 more years in prison for R. Kelly. Fetterman draws praise for getting help for depression. Kari Lake loses appeal in Arizona governor race challenge. FBI searched University of Delaware in Biden dogs probe. Tesla recalls full self-driving to fix unsafe actions. Panel bags moving opioid antidote Narcan over the counter. HarperCollins union approves contract, ends 3-month strike. Biden hosts screening of film about lynching of Emmett Till. Bruce Willis has frontotemporal dementia, condition worsens. North Korea threatens unprecedented response to South US drill. UN appeals for $1 billion to help Turkey quake survivors. Taiwan reports Chinese balloon found on northern island. New Zealand cyclone fatalities reach 8, more deaths feared. Canada to deploy Navy vessels to Haiti as violence worsens. North Korea's Kim breaks ground for housing farm projects. Tiger opens with 69 at Riviera, trails Homa Michel by 5. And Devinha gives Brazil 1-0 win over Japan in She Believes. Now news in detail. President Joe Biden said Thursday that the US is developing sharper rules to track, monitor, and potentially shoot down unknown aerial objects, following 3 weeks of high-stakes drama sparked by the discovery of a suspected Chinese spy balloon transiting much of the country. The president has directed National Security Advisor Jake Sullivan to lead an interagency team to review US procedures after the US shot down the Chinese balloon, as well as 3 other objects that Biden said the US now believes are most likely benign objects launched by private companies or research institutions. While not expressing regret for downing the 3 still unidentified objects, Biden said he hoped the new rules would help distinguish between those that are likely to pose safety and security risks that necessitate action and those that do not. Biden sharply criticized China's surveillance program, saying the shutdown sent a clear message: the violation of our sovereignty is unacceptable, but said he looks to maintain open lines of communication with Beijing. Secretary of State Antony Blinken postponed his first planned trip to China as the balloon was flying over the US, and a new meeting with his Chinese counterpart has yet to be scheduled. The man who shot 8 students at Michigan State University, killing 3, was found with 2 handguns and a note containing a possible motive for the attack, police said Thursday. The 9mm guns, dozens of rounds of ammunition, and the 2-page note were found with Anthony McRae when he killed himself Monday night after being confronted by police, said campus deputy chief Chris Roseman. Investigators said they still were trying to pin down a motive 3 days after the violence at the 50,000 student campus in East Lansing. But the note was a key point. It appears based on the content of the note that he felt he was slighted in some way by people or businesses, Roseman said at a news conference. Did a mental health issue amplify that, or was it a component of that? We are not sure at this point. We are working our best to try to determine that as best as possible. McRae, 43, was the lone shooter and had no connection to the victims or to Michigan State as a student or employee, police said. Federal prosecutors Thursday asked a judge to give singer R. Kelly 25 more years in prison for his child pornography and enticement convictions last year in Chicago, which would add to 30 years he recently began serving in a New York case. The 56-year-old wouldn't be eligible for release until he was around 100 if the judge agrees both to the 25-year sentence and another government request that Kelly begin serving his Chicago sentence only after the 30-year New York sentence is fully served. In their sentencing recommendation filed before midnight Thursday in U.S. District Court in Chicago, prosecutors described Kelly's behavior as sadistic, calling him a serial sexual predator with no remorse and who poses a serious danger to society. The only way to ensure Kelly does not reoffend is to impose a sentence that will keep him in prison for the rest of his life, the 37-page government filing says. Kelly's sentencing in Chicago is set for Thursday next week. On Thursday, the office of Pennsylvania Senator John Fetterman, a Democrat who was elected to the Senate after a bruising campaign during which he suffered a stroke, announced he had checked himself into the hospital for clinical depression. The statement said Fetterman had experienced depression on and off in his life, but it had only become severe in recent weeks. This is a moment for us to tear down the stigma of depression and anxiety, said Kennedy, who retired in 2010 and has become a leading voice on mental illness. Senator Fetterman may do more for people just by admitting that he is getting help for depression than any bill he ends up sponsoring. The U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murphy tweeted praise for Fetterman, saying he hopes his courage will serve as an example for others. Fetterman's Senate colleagues were immediately supportive. Fetterman's hospitalization comes after a rough year in which the 53-year-old suffered a stroke just ahead of the May primary election and spent much of the summer of the campaign trail recovering. He has said the stroke nearly killed him. He also underwent surgery to implant a pacemaker with a defibrillator to manage two heart conditions, atrial fibrillation and cardiomyopathy. He entered the Senate in January, where he has had to adjust to life in Washington and the daily grind of a federal lawmaker. An Arizona appeals court has rejected Republican Kari Lake's challenge of her defeat in the Arizona governor's race to Democrat Katie Hobbs, denying her request to throw out election results in the state's most populous county and hold the election again. In a ruling on Thursday, the Arizona Court of Appeals wrote Lake, who claimed problems with ballot printers at some polling places on election day, were the result of intentional misconduct, presented no evidence that voters whose ballots were unreadable by tabulators at polling places were not able to vote. The court said that even a witness called by Lake to testify had confirmed that ballots that couldn't initially be read at polling places could still ultimately have their vote counted. And while a pollster who testified on behalf of Lake claimed the polling place problems had disenfranchised enough voters to change the outcome in Lake's favor, the court said his conclusions were baseless. The appeals court wrote Lake's appeal failed because the evidence supports the conclusion that voters were able to cast their ballots, that votes were counted correctly, and that no other basis justifies setting aside the election results. The FBI searched the University of Delaware in recent weeks for classified documents as part of its investigation into the potential mishandling of sensitive government records by President Joe Biden. The search, first reported by CNN, was confirmed to the Associated Press by a person familiar with the matter who was not authorized to discuss it publicly and spoke on condition of anonymity. The person would not say whether anything was found. A Justice Department special counsel is investigating how classified documents from Biden's time as vice president and senator came to wind up in his home and former office, and whether any mishandling involved criminal intent or was unintentional. Biden's personal lawyers disclosed in January that a small batch of documents with classified markings had been found weeks earlier in his former Washington office, and they have since allowed FBI searches of multiple properties. US safety regulators have pressured Tesla into recalling nearly 363,000 vehicles with its full self-driving system because it can misbehave around intersections and doesn't always follow speed limits. The recall, part of a larger investigation by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration into Tesla's automated driving systems, is the most serious action taken yet against the electric vehicle maker. It raises questions about CEO Elon Musk's claims that he can prove to regulators that cars equipped with full self-driving are safer than humans, and that humans almost never have to touch the controls. Musk at one point had promised that a fleet of autonomous robotaxis would be in use in 2020. The latest action appears to push that development further into the future. The safety agency says in documents posted on its website Thursday that Tesla will fix the concerns with an online software update in the coming weeks. The documents say Tesla is doing the recall but does not agree with an agency analysis of the problem. The overdose reversing drug naloxone should be made available over the counter to aid the national response to the opioid crisis, U.S. Health Advisor said Wednesday. The panel of Food and Drug Administration experts voted unanimously in favor of the switch after a full day of presentations and discussions centered on whether untrained users would be able to safely and effectively use the nasal spray in emergency situations. The positive vote, which is not binding, came despite concerns from some panel members about the drug's instructions and packaging, which caused confusion among some people in a company study. The manufacturer, Emergent Biosolutions, said it would revise the packaging and labeling to address those concerns. The FDA will make a final decision on the drug in coming weeks. Panel members urged the FDA to move swiftly rather than waiting for Emergent to conduct a follow-up study with the easier-to-understand label. Striking union members at HarperCollins Publishers have approved a tentative agreement reached last week and will return to work Tuesday, ending a walkout that lasted more than 3 months and became the center of an ongoing debate about salaries in the industry. More than 200 members, from editorial assistants to publicists and designers of local 2,110 of the United Auto Workers Union, had been working without a contract since last spring. They went on strike in early November, with wages, workplace diversity, and union protection among the issues. Notably, the union called for raising the entry-level salary from $45,000 to $50,000. The union announced the ratification Thursday. President Joe Biden on Thursday hosted a screening of the movie Till, a wrenching new drama about the 1955 lynching of Emmett Till, who was brutally killed after a white woman said the black 14-year-old had made improper advances toward her. History matters, Biden said in brief remarks before the lights in the East Room came down on invited guests, including members of Till's family. He noted that while some might want to ignore the nation's history, only with truth comes healing and justice. Biden said he has come to learn that hate never goes away, and that the only thing that stops it is for the entire country to condemn it. There is only one thing that stops it, all of us, Biden said. Silence is complicity. Among the members of Till's family was a cousin who is suing in federal court to force a Mississippi County sheriff to serve a recently discovered 1955 arrest warrant on the now nearly 90-year-old woman who complained about the young man. Nearly a year after Bruce Willis' family announced that he would step away from acting after being diagnosed with aphasia, his family says his condition has progressed. In a statement posted Thursday, the 67-year-old actor's family said Willis has a more specific diagnosis of frontotemporal dementia. While this is painful, it is a relief to finally have a clear diagnosis. The statement read, "FTD is a cruel disease that many of us have never heard of and can strike anyone." Last March, Willis' family said his aphasia had affected his cognitive abilities. The condition causes loss of the ability to understand or express speech. In Thursday's statement, his family said communication challenges were just one symptom of frontotemporal dementia. The Association for Frontotemporal Degeneration describes FTD as a group of brain disorders caused by degeneration of the frontal or temporal lobes of the brain that affects behavior, language, and movement. Aphasia can be a symptom of it. The association describes frontotemporal degeneration as an inevitable decline in functioning, with an average life expectancy of 7 to 13 years after the onset of symptoms. Now it's time for global updates. North Korea threatened Friday to take unprecedentedly strong action against its rivals, soon after South Korea announced a series of planned military drills with the United States to hone their joint response to the North's increasing nuclear threats. North Korea has halted weapons testing activities since its short-range missile firing on January 1st, though it launched more than 70 missiles in 2022, a record number for a single year. Friday's warning suggests the North's testing could resume soon over its rivals' military training, which it views as an invasion rehearsal. In case the US and South Korea carry into practice their already announced plan for military drills that, with just apprehension and reason, regards as preparations for an aggression war, they will face unprecedentedly persistent and strong counteractions, the North Korean Foreign Ministry said in a statement carried by state media. The statement accused South Korea and the United States of planning more than 20 rounds of military drills, including their largest ever field exercises. It called South Korea and the United States the arch criminals deliberately disrupting regional peace and stability. The United Nations launched a $1 billion appeal Thursday to help 5.2 million survivors of the most devastating earthquake in Turkey's modern history, 2 days after starting a $397 million appeal to help nearly 5 million Syrians across the border in the rebel-held northwest. UN spokesman Stephen Dujarric was peppered with questions about why the appeal for Turkey is targeted at only 5.2 million people, when according to the UN and the government, more than 15 million people were affected. He also was asked why the appeal for Turkey is 2.5 times larger than the one for Syria to help almost the same number of people. He said the Turkish appeal was designed in very close cooperation with the government of Turkey, which is leading the relief efforts. This is the number they came up with for the focus on people who need the most humanitarian aid, most quickly, and where the UN can be most effective, Dujarric said. He said Turkey has a very efficient search and rescue and humanitarian system, Both appeals are for emergency funds for the next 3 months and will be followed by fresh appeals for longer-term help. Taiwan's defense ministry says a Chinese weather balloon landed on one of its outlying islands amid US accusations that such craft have been dispatched worldwide to spy on Washington and its allies. The ministry's statement on Thursday said the balloon carried equipment registered to a state-owned electronics company in the northern city of Taiwan. The islet where it was found, Tangian, is part of the Matsu Island ground lying just off the coast of China's Fujian province. Taiwan maintained control of the islands after the sides split in 1949 amid civil war, and they are considered a first line of defense should China make good on its threats to bring Taiwan under its control by force if necessary. Reached by phone, a publicity officer at the company, identified in the report as Taiwan Wireless First Factory Limited, said it had provided electronics but had not built the balloon. The death toll from New Zealand's cyclone reached 8 on Friday, with more than 4,500 people still unaccounted for 4 days after the nation's most destructive weather event in decades brought widespread flooding, landslides and power outages, the Prime Minister said. Cyclone Gabrielle struck the country's north on Monday, and the level of damage has been compared to Cyclone Bola in 1988. That storm was the most destructive on record to hit the nation of 5 million people. Prime Minister Chris Hipkins said 3 more fatalities had been confirmed since Thursday, and police held grave fears for other missing persons. Canada will send Navy vessels to Haiti for intelligence gathering as part of efforts to quell worsening gang violence in the Caribbean nation, Canadian Prime Minister Justin Trudeau announced Thursday. Trudeau made the announcement in the Bahamas at an annual meeting of Caribbean leaders where a key topic has been Haiti's surge in killings, rapes and kidnappings blamed on gangs emboldened since the July 2021 assassination of President Jovenel Moise. Haitian Prime Minister Ariel Henry was also at the meeting, has pleaded for a full-fledged international military intervention to stem the mayhem. His country requested help from the UN Security Council in October and has suggested the US and Canada lead efforts. No such intervention has come together, and neither country has offered to take the lead. North Korea says leader Kim Jong-un attended groundbreaking ceremonies for new housing and farming projects, which are part of his push for domestic achievements as the country's economic isolation deepens amid his defiant pursuit of nuclear arms. North Korea's official Korean Central News Agency said Kim broke ground Wednesday for the construction of a huge greenhouse farm in the outskirts of the capital, Pyongyang, where senior North Korean official Jo Young-on in a speech said that providing Pyongyang residents with fresh vegetables in all seasons was a top priority. Kim also attended a ceremony marking the start of second-stage construction project to build 10,000 new homes in Pyongyang's Hwaseong district. The project is part of broader plans to supply 50,000 new homes in the capital under a 5-year national development plan that runs through 2025. Now it's time for business news. Today's New York stock close price is 15,873.78. The NYSE composite is decreased by 142.31 points or 0.89%. Tokyo stock close price is 27,513.13. The Nikkei 225 index is decreased by 183.31 points or 0.66%. Shanghai stock close price is 3,224.0243. The Shanghai Composite Index is decreased by 25.01 points or 0.77%. Hong Kong stock close price is 20,719.81. The Hang Seng Index is decreased by 267.86 points or 1.28%. Bombay stock close price is 61,027.72. The Sensex index is decreased by 291.79 points or 0.48%. Let's have a look on today's sports stories. The scene was similar to the last time Tiger Woods played against the world's best. Fans packed onto every balcony on every level of the Riviera clubhouse Thursday, all of them straining for a rare sight of golf's biggest star. Woods had them cheering even louder at the end. He put on a show in his first competition in 7 months, closing with 3 straight birdies and one big smile for a 2 under 69 in the Genesis Invitational, leaving him 5 shots behind Max Homa and Keith Mitchell. Woods went bunker to fairway to bunker on the 10th hole and had to make an 8-footer to save bogey. He was wild off the tee for another bogey on the 12th, leaving him over par on a mild, breezy afternoon. And then he looked like the Woods of old at the end. A tee shot to 5 feet on the par 3 60th, another birdie from 25 feet on the par 5 17th, and then a big drive, a few yards longer than Rory McIlroy, on the 18th that set up a 9-iron to 7 feet. Devinha scored off a pass from Marta in the second half and Brazil won the opening match of the She Believes Cup 1-0 over Japan on Thursday. Marta, who has been named FIFA World Player of the Year 6 times, came in as a second-half substitute for Brazil. The game was Marta's first since tearing the ACL in her left knee last March during a pre-season National Women's Soccer League's tournament, which caused her to miss the entire 2022 season for the Orlando Pride. Just a few minutes after entering the game, she sent a cross to Devinha, who scored to give Brazil the lead in the 72nd minute. It was the 58th international goal for Devinha, who plays for the NWSL's Kansas City Current. The United States was set to play Canada in the late game at Orlando's Exploria Stadium. The 4-team round-robin tournament moves to Nashville on Sunday. The teams in the tournament will play in the Women's World Cup this summer in Australia and New Zealand. With all 4 teams ranked in the top 11 internationally, the She Believes Cup is key preparation for the World Cup. Let's have a look on today's weather forecast. That's all in today's news. Keep watching Millennium News 24 for latest updates. Millennium TV USA and Millennium News 24 network is transmitted and available to be watched free for all at TVs such as Sony, Samsung, LG, Roku TV, Amazon TV and Apple TV. And also in all European countries and Australia available with the Sky Network, Worldwide Jago TV, Radiant IPTV, Worldwide Jago BD Network and Horizon Satellite globally. Stay connected with us for all types of informative and entertainment program. Thank you.